I'm Zahabia, and we're just asking you a few questions about the whole event in general. So, curating an event like this, especially for the first time, what was your thought process behind it? What was the thought about the need for an event like this, especially post pandemic?
The whole idea emerged from one important realization that in a fast changing media landscape, we need to uh, think about how we can initiate a dialogue between the global south and the global north in terms of facing the challenges and shaping the future of the media in a way where we have much more clarity than we already have. Because if you look at the media landscape in general, particularly over the past few years, the massive technological changes have been disruptive, at the same time promising. So, this conference is basically designed to initiate the much needed dialogue between people related to the media from different parts of the world.
Okay, and so since COVID, obviously media has changed drastically. I think people have also given a thought and realized that there is a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of disinformation going on. There's different angles that come out, that can sound a little snarky sometimes. So, do you think that's something that we do definitely need to tackle? And do you think that can be tackled through events like this and widespread of events like this?
See, tackling fake news and disinformation is not very easy for three reasons. One, politically, the whole world, you see, right-wing political parties across the world using disinformation to polarize societies and gain electorally and politically. So that's one major issue. Second, the advent of social media has made amplification of disinformation much easier. Earlier, it would have taken days for something to travel across the world. But now, a rumor can travel across the world within a minute. So that's number two. Number three, in the mad rush for TRP ratings and to get ahead of the rest, there is always a tendency to forget some of the cardinal principles of journalism, like fact checking, verification, etc. So it is indeed a very serious problem and not easy to tackle. But of course, it is something that we must address. Even at the Global Media Congress, we have a media lab focusing on disinformation. There are sessions on disinformation in the conference agenda as well. Yes, of course, it is important.
And as you mentioned about fake news and running behind TRP, that's how all of this kind of spreads. We do have a lot of those discussions in class as well, where how can we, as probably on a smaller scale, how can we sort of navigate our way around all of that? So with that comes the topic of media literacy, and especially in today's world, not just for students but also anyone who's consuming media today, our new media today. What do you think about the importance of media literacy? Do you think it should be taught in schools, not just at university levels? Do you think it should be field specific, or should everyone be media literate?
No, media literacy is very, very important. In fact, a few years ago, the UAE took some initiative and then suddenly COVID came. The idea at that time was to initiate a major campaign across the country, particularly in educational institutions, focusing on media literacy and internet literacy, particularly in regard to how you interact with social media, how you yourself use social media. So this is very important, and I think there are two important dimensions of this that we need to look at. One is how we all can fight disinformation and fake news in our own limited ways. For instance, if you have an Instagram account or a Facebook account, you yourself can do that in your own way. If somebody is spreading disinformation, you can put a link on the comment box which proves that he was wrong, right? So that's one important. The second important aspect is for media people. Now, as a media student, you will also become a journalist or a media person. So in our professions, we need to go back to the old rules while using the newer technologies. Old rules about fact checking, or as CP Scott said, fact is sacred, comment is free, So that kind of a rigorous approach to truth is very important, especially in a post-truth era.
And so moving forward, what are your I guess, your assumptions or your predictions about new media going forward? What do you think the future of media is going ahead? Do you think it'll just be saturated with fake news? Do you think we can tackle that? Do you think a congress like this, where different media makers are having conversations about these things and are trying to find out ways how you can tackle it, do you think these are things that can be solved in the future?
See, I don't think anything will be solved. I mean, I'll give you an example. Recently, The Guardian, one of the foremost newspapers in the world, celebrated its 200th anniversary. And the main feature that they carried on the day of the anniversary was the 200 worst stories that we did, where they got wrong. So I don't think we can solve any of this, but we can continue to fight against these trends. Because what you need to understand is, in the last 20 years or so, media has been expanding exponentially. But along with that, journalism has been shrinking. So how can we recapture the space that journalism lost? That's very very important. We will never solve all these problems because it's all related to various kinds of political games. But at the same time, I guess we must continue to fight against these tendencies. Misinformation is always there in our profession because we can't avoid it. But how to clearly distinguish misinformation from disinformation is perhaps a key challenge.
Understood. And wrapping this up, my final question to you is: what advice would you give young students, especially ones that are going to be future media makers? Just any advice on how they should navigate their way throughout this world, I guess.
I don't know how I can advise you because compared to my generation, you people are much more techno savvy, so you know how to, negotiate, the pitfalls in a technologically dominant era. So the only thing is that in this profession, the most important and foremost thing that we need to remember is it is our commitment to truth that defines your work in the media, especially if you are in journalism. So let us remain committed to truth and facts. That's the only thing. Everything else keeps changing. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and we hope you have a great day.